Item A1 to read out correspondences. LAR late arrival at 1:30 due to EGM of LO Association. SOSA absent due to out of town. AR late arrival 1:30 due to being returning officer. RCA1 absent due to out of town. FSA absent due to class. WLHR absent due to class. SAP absent due to class. RSA2 early leave at 1:45 due to lecture. RCRHR late arrival at 1 due to class. MSR late arrival at 1 due to class. RHR late arrival at 12:45 due to class. LHTHR late arrival at 12:30 due to class consultation. UHR late arrival at 12:40 due to class. Any other correspondences? Receive maiden speeches. Any maiden speeches? Gentleman A3 to report motions carried by circulation. Motions number 1382 to number 146 were circulated and carried by this council. Gentleman A4 to receive and adopt the agenda. Any questions on the agenda? Item 1242, motion number 1, the agenda of the 9th Ordinary Council meeting, HKUSU Council Session 2019 be received and adopted. Proposer Mr. Lee, seconder Ms. Chang, proposer seconder. Are there any consultation, discussion, amendment, or objections? Motion is carried. Item A5 to receive and adopt the minutes of previous council meetings. We will not receive or adopt any minutes in this meeting. Item B1 to hold the annual debate. If there are no objections, speaking right will be granted to the floor. All members of the union may speak on this subject. Are there any objections? Speaking right is granted to the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Directly, popularly elected Union Councillor. Before I proceed with today's motions, I would like to mention two things first. First is that I would strongly recommend today's councillors and the floor to speak in English so as to accommodate for the audience here and through the live broadcast. And the second thing is that any audience here, you may retrieve a hard copy of the annual debate written response booklet from the box over there, or you may look at the soft copy over the Facebook page of the Union Council. So today's motion is the Union shall adopt rallying support from the international community as the main approach in achieving democracy in Hong Kong. And throughout democracy movement in Hong Kong over years, and especially in this of the social movement from 2019, international support has frequently played a key role in the movement. And actually, like setting posts on Twitter or lobbying in foreign parliaments, we can see that international support is key and crucial in fighting for democracy in Hong Kong. So I think the key point today that we need to discuss is whether the Union shall adopt an approach to rally for international support, and also whether this support should be the main approach that the Union shall adopt. And therefore, I invite that councillors and the floor may speak up on this motion. Thank you, Chairperson.
場內進行嘅香港大學學生會評議會2019年度週年辯論，各基本會員都可以就辯題發言。Any speeches?
Thank you, Chairperson. Mahotin Samuel, representative of Morrison Hall Students Association, HKUSU Session 2019-2020. Democracy is one of the core values that Hong Kong is proud to uphold. Justice is served by the rule of law within the one country, two systems framework. The Basic Law was introduced and listed in the Joint Declaration to ensure that Hong Kong maintains a high degree of autonomy and as a special administrative region. However, the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress has issued 4 interpretations without the request from the court stated in the declaration, defining the election of the Chief Executive and the Legislative Council, the term of Chief Executive elected from the by-election, and the legitimacy of the Legislative Council vow. These definitions, with no doubt, affects democracy in Hong Kong. The anti-amendment movement has continued for more than 200 days since 9th of June last year, and the implementation of the double universal suffrage is in one of the 5 major demands has yet to be answered. Hong Kong citizens have started to rally support from the international community in hopes that foreign forces will exert pressure on the government to obtain higher autonomy. The Hong Kong Institutions International Affairs Delegation has visited a number of countries, taking the battlefield to the international front line and to compel the world to concern about Hong Kong. The U.S. Congress passed the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act to add protection to human rights and democracy in Hong Kong. The international community's support will undoubtedly help the fight for Hong Kong's democracy and freedom. It will increase the pressure of public opinion and force the government to respond to the demands. However, this should not be the main approach in achieving democracy in Hong Kong for 2 reasons. First of all, the local protests must be first generate repercussion before they can gain international support. United States Senator Marco Rubio, one of the promoters of the act in the U.S. Congress, said that he has seen the Hong Kong government's disregard of millions of peaceful demonstrations and the suppression of freedom, which made him believe that the United States needs to speak up in support of Hong Kong's people's pursuit of freedom and of upholding the rule of law. However, the number of protests have started to decline since the 16th of March, and the international forces on Hong Kong has changed from fighting for democracy to public brutality. From the perspective of the well-being of the members in the University of Hong Kong, the cause and effect of the union approaching parties from foreign countries may not be as imbalanced. As a no-leader movement, the union cannot speak on behalf of protesters in Hong Kong to make clear its position and ask political groups to take action. If international negotiations are targeted at foreign universities, the impact will not be great for democracy in Hong Kong, but rather a large number of students' union funds will be needed. Therefore, considering the representativeness and the capability of the union, using the funds to support the students can be better help Hong Kong pursuing democracy than rallying support from the international communities. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chang Hao-ying, representative of Simon K. Wiley Hall Students Association. I think the main question here lies on whether it should be the main approach, and I disagree with this motion. In the first place, as a public servant, the union should prioritize the benefits of its members and shoulder its responsibility to improve social awareness of students, as provided by the Constitution of the Union. Moreover, civic awareness of local citizens is indispensable for a democratic society, while persuasion for international support can only be one of the methods to assist. In order to strive for democracy, the union shall promote universal values to students, and also to promote civil education. With such, the union shall prioritize strengthening relationship with students, raising their awareness on current affairs, and leading the trend of democratic thoughts. Furthermore, the union should be aware of its significant role in terms of internal affairs. There are countless Hong Kongers from all walks of life who are devoted in the pursuit of democracy, while the union is only one of the many leaders of student movements. However, the the Union is the only organization mandated to raise awareness of university affairs, including the safeguard of institutional autonomy and academic freedom. On top of fulfilling those constitutional duties, rallying international support involves much manpower and resources, which undoubtedly reduce the time and effort spent on union governance and university policy making. The Union shall therefore strike a balance between all aspects as opposed to total devotion and non-governmental diplomacy, so as to serve its members comprehensively. The motto of the Union, unity with independence, does not only apply in the university, it can also be reinterpreted in the recent democratic movement. Only if we unitedly believe in democracy and pursue our goal independently through an array of approaches, we could move towards democracy. In a nutshell, the Union should prioritize local community in its intellectual lead of democracy and rally support from the international community only when there is residual manpower. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Representative of Sports Association to Lau Kun Sheng. I'm against the motion as I have reservations as to whether in achieving democracy in Hong Kong, the main approach should be rally support from the international community, given the equal importance of rallying support from the current and future members of the Union, and of course the local community. I must clarify that the motion is that the Union should adopt rallying support from the international community as one of the approaches in achieving democracy in Hong Kong. I will definitely vote for it. I'll start with commenting on the controversial part of the motion. Undoubtedly, the Union should adopt rallying support from the international community as one of the approaches in achieving democracy in Hong Kong. As the Union is one of the few bodies which can represent the youths in Hong Kong who treasure freedom and democracy, it is unquestionable that the Union should take part in actions that advocate for democracy in Hong Kong. It is equally unquestionable that one of the actions that the Union should take is to rally support from the international community. Rallying support from the congressmen from the United States to pass legislations protecting the autonomy of Hong Kong is one of the examples. Given how this motion is drafted, the next thing to consider is, should rallying support from the international community be the main approach? I have reservations on this. Of course, support from the international community, especially the sovereign countries, is vital. One only needs to look at the independence movement in Catalonia to understand the importance of international support. Although at least about half of the Catalans support the creation of an independent Catalan republic, as the movement does not have the support from most of the sovereign countries, the independence referendum and the Declaration of Independence ended in a bitter failure and resulted in more repression from the Spanish central government. However, one must bear in mind the equal importance of support from the local community. Many lawmakers from the United States and many European countries support Hong Kong due to the massive demonstrations that happened in Hong Kong. Our movement continued for so many months because of the continued participation of the local community, especially many members of the Union, whom we should undoubtedly support. What should the Union do in the fight for democracy in Hong Kong? Rallying support from the stakeholders in the international community, such as lawmakers of other countries, by meeting them in person, should continue to be done. In terms of rallying support from the local community, we should explain what Hong Kongers are fighting for to the many non-local students here, who cannot receive as much updated information about the protests as we do. There should be more propagandas in English. We should also gain the support from local students and the local community. The support from them gives us legitimacy in representing them in the international stage. We should also do everything we can to support the members who have been arrested. Lastly, I would like to add that we should rally support from the international community, not just regarding democracy and freedom in Hong Kong, but also about the future of Hong Kong after 2047. Henry Litton, a former Hong Kong Court of Final Appeal judge, says in his recent, maybe not so recent, interview with the South China Morning Post, there are few certainties in life. One of them is that the common law system underpinning Hong Kong's core values is destined to expire in 27 years' time. It is the responsibility of our generation to think of the best way forward for Hong Kong and gain international support on our preferred proposal. We must advocate for the continued existence of Hong Kong after 2047, if not our future generations will blame us for our inaction. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chen Chenka, representative of Medical Society. Personally, I support the motion that the Union shall adopt rallying support from the international community as the primary approach in achieving democracy in Hong Kong, given the current situation in society as well as the unique nature of this university. To begin with, I would like to point out the stark fact that despite Hong Kong's relentless efforts in fighting for democracy by countless times and means, the government has been showing blatant disregard for our demands. Even worse, what we can observe, especially during the recent months, is the escalating suppression from the unrestrained regime. More than once, peaceful protests have been turned into massive arresting and severe injuries. And therefore, I think it is patently clear that we have to resort to new ways to bail ourselves out of the dreadful plight. Given the success of the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act of 2009 and other international measures, I'm convinced that taking the battlefield to an international level is also an effective and feasible way to fight for our democracy. As the student union of one of the most prestigious universities in Asia, the union shall take the lead in cooperating with the student unions of other higher institutions, engaging various parties both locally and internationally, including the Consulate General, foreign student unions, as well as different politicians, so as to gather more international support from different perspectives. Some of you maintain that it is not appropriate for the union to focus on rallying support from the international community, because the union only represents and should serve its members, who are mostly the students of the University of Hong Kong, instead of the Hong Kong citizens as a whole. And however, I believe that the union actually has a specific role to play when it comes to mobilizing international support for democracy in Hong Kong, not only in an external level, but also within the university. And this also brings to my next point. As we all know, the University of Hong Kong is well known for its high extent of internationalization, not only comprising a diverse student body with students from around the globe, but has also established extensive connections with the international community in various aspects. And I believe this unique nature of the University of Hong Kong is indeed a valuable asset that the union can capitalize on to unite its international students and so as to recruit more international support in the local level. Currently, despite considerable amounts of international students here, sad to say, only a few of them have knowledge of the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong, not to mention supporting it. Regarding this, I think the union can actually target on this group of international community by organizing campaigns and assemblies so that they can get to know more about our efforts in fighting for democracy, and ultimately actually realizing that they have a part to play, for example, by spreading the message to their hometown via various means such as social media, so that this can finally help us to get more global international attention, and at the same time in line with the primary nature of the union. It is generally acknowledged that the international community stands with universal values, and fighting for democracy should be no exception. Beyond doubt, the world will stand with Hong Kong as long as our voices are being heard. For all these reasons, today's motion must stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Charlotte from the High Central Students Association. So I support today's motion. I think the union should make use of their comparative advantages. Because student union is far more than the local colleges and university. They also have the connection with the foreign academic circles, overseas Hong Kongers, and those who study abroad. They're in touch with them and can effectively strive for international support, so they can play a supporting role in this social movement. The student union can utilize resources like human resources and exert its public appeal. They recruit students to fight from international fronts, allocating fundings, publishing propagandas, as well as research and reports. They will be able to visit country for diplomatic work, meeting councils in Hong Kong, the civil society, and political dignitaries to carry out canvassing and build an international network. Thus, I think that HKUSU should make use of their advantages to call support from people in and out of campus to arouse global attention. Indeed, in view of the reality from the global community, the student union should strive for international support as to pressurize the Chinese government for democracy in the name of promoting human rights and freedom worldwide. Many foreigners run their business or settle in Hong Kong. Some foreign enterprises set up regional headquarters here, and there's around 10,000 American citizens here. And so we should believe that the globe would pay attention to the autonomy and freedom in Hong Kong. The anti-extradition law amendment bill movement unfolds to be a human rights movement. It's actually the rivalry between freedom and dictatorship, democracy and autocracy. To gain sympathy worldwide, what we have to do now is to rely on the country's rights and obligations endued by the international law. Once a country breaks the international human rights law, it will destroy their mutual trust, and thus hardly will the international order be maintained. G7 issued a statement recently, emphasizing the importance of the Sino-British Joint Declaration. Implies that China should have adhered to it. So, the student union should stress on the aim that the movement is to defend the order of international human rights and arouse awareness of humanitarian crisis. On the other hand, we can also connect those less developed countries who are also being suppressed by the Chinese government with economic means. So, I think today's motion must stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Lohiwai Kiwa, representative of Business Economics Association, HKUSU. The anti-extradition movement has disagreed with it, as the international support as a way to fight for democracy is indirect. The foreign attitude can easily be strengthened by political climate and economic results. The most impressive action shall be the Hong Kong Bill of Rights and Democracy in the United States. However, no senior officials, civil servants, or illegal police in Hong Kong have been included in the sanctions list. The student union strive for support in the international community with great effort but less effect. It hardly depends on the current situations of the countries. Other countries will never shoulder the responsibility of traveling with Hong Kong simply because of their sympathy. It seems more straightforward for the student union to gather the local support as a way to fight for democracy. It is also within our competence and responsibilities. While the international community can raise attention easily, local power cannot be ignored. After half a year of turmoil, there still have many people in the society who turned a deaf ear and are willing to be silent and even blindly support the police and the government. As long as there are supporters of the regime, she can summarize the opponents as a minority and ignore the opposing force. Therefore, to reform, we must first unite the people of Hong Kong and cultivate the common pursuit of freedom through civil education. As a representative of the young group, the student union shall be the one to gather all people of the society. The pursuance of democracy in Hong Kong is a long-term process. Although the support of the international community is encouraging, it is not practical. After all, Hong Kong people still have to work hard on their own. The Hong Kong University Student Union should shoulder their heavy responsibilities, unite all parties, and use local strength to promote our democratic society. Therefore, I think today's motion must fall.
Testing. Thank you, Chairperson Mr. Haley, representative of Social Sciences Society. Well, I generally believe that the motion should stand. No doubt, as a locally based students' union, HKUSU should put its great focus on long-term local struggles, as well as students' welfare to exert pressure on the government. However, at the same time, just as representatives of medical society have mentioned, the local movement have more or less came to stop. It is therefore necessary for HKUSU to achieve democracy through different ways other than solely relying on local movements. The reasons for me to support today's motion can be divided into two aspects: the effectiveness of rallying support from the international community and the resources required to do so. In terms of effectiveness, the support from the international community can exert great pressure on the regime and hopefully force it to respond to public opinions. By gaining the support from the international community, other than the verbal encouragement or revitalizing the morale of the protesters, it can also attract the attention and even actions of foreign Congress or other institutions, which are helpful for Hong Kong to shape democracy. The Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act is an example of foreign actions posing great threats to the power holders in Hong Kong. If more foreign institutions from different countries can support the movements in Hong Kong, the regime can be cracked down from different aspects and greatly enhance the chance of it to satisfy people's demands, thus achieving democracy in Hong Kong and displaying the effectiveness of rallying support from the international community. In order to rally support from the international community, there are different ways, and public democracy plays an important role. However, such actions are long-term and they require a large amount of resources which are difficult to be obtained solely through current funding by NGOs without support from large-scale students' unions such as HKUSU. The assistance from HKUSU is therefore important. While supporting the local movements, the union should put its major focus on public democracy and any other actions for rallying international support through the provide of money and human resources to various organizations with its reputation and capabilities. While ideally, both local movements and rallying support from the international community should be the ways of HKUSU to fight for democracy. However, due to practical concerns, one has to be the major approach. In light of the current dynamic facing local struggles, HKUSU should put its focus on exploring new ways for democratic movements in Hong Kong, which is the rallying of international support, so as to make full use of its unique advantages, including its large extent of internationalization and foreign influence. Well, I would like to make it clear that I'm not against HKUSU putting focus on local movements, civic education, or students' welfare to achieve democracy in Hong Kong. However, as many councillors have mentioned, the current situation of local movement and struggles is facing great difficulties, and it is difficult to continue without finding new ways to achieve democracy. HKUSU as an institution with the great resources, with the knowledge and human resources, it should take up the role of exploring new ways and first taking up the role of rallying support of international community as the main approach. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson. Tan Yu Tian Jocelyn, representative of St. John's College Students Association, HKUSU, session 2019 to 2020. I'm against the motion. As mentioned by some of the previous councillors, I put the focus on whether rallying support from the International Committee should be the main approach of the Union. I would like to first declare that in no way am I stating that the support from the International Committee is not needed. Rather, under the totalitarian oppression, Hong Kongers are well aware of the need to fight through all possible means, no matter within or out of the system, to assist Hong Kong in moving closer towards democracy. Although the rallying of support from the International Committee has been rather effective and helpful on Hong Kong's path to democracy, we have never relied solely on the international front. From the past few months, it could be seen that numerous forms of resistance emerged in society among the people outside of the political system, including assemblies, march, strikes, and even the yellow economy, which aims to encourage more people to use their economic means to support the movements in our daily life. This shows that the determination of Hong Kongers is embodied through both outside and within the system, and that we are striving to make our change through all possible means.
Hong Kong does indeed have the attention of the international community, and based on the fact that our general situation of resistance right now, we should value every possible means. However, it's hard to use the support of the international community as the main way to fight for democracy, as it could hardly be seen as a long-term strategy. To win the support of the community means to rely on other countries, although it cannot be assumed that other countries will withdraw their helping hands once Hong Kong loses its advantages. It's quite unlikely that they will support Hong Kong regardless of what they will be able to gain from it. Moreover, the area of international politics is not something that the general public of Hong Kong could get involved in easily. And therefore, the other means, as mentioned earlier, are undoubtedly easier for the general public to practice in daily life compared to the international community politics that involves too many considerations. It also means that more Hong Kongers will be encouraged to devote themselves to such means to assist in creating advantageous conditions for Hong Kong's struggle towards democracy. International community as the main approach in achieving democracy in Hong Kong, and instead hope that it can devote in leading itself to discussions and ideologies, gathering the force of resistance, and encouraging the students and public to take part in various local resistance methods in order to achieve real democracy in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Representative of Dental Society, 2019. In 2019, the anti-extradition law has aroused civil awareness of many Hong Kongers. And this has raised the attention of many people in society about this issue. And even many people took to streets to protest for democracy. Nevertheless, despite the incessant action to extract demands of Hong Kongers, the regime is still turning a blind eye to it. In light of this, the student organization at Hong Kong Higher Institution is trying to fight for democracy through different other means, including support internationally. And I agree that the union should rally support from the international community in the main approach in achieving democracy in Hong Kong. And this because of two reasons. Firstly, the international community can realize Hong Kong's current situation through civil diplomacy. And in fact, the union is using the civil diplomacy for raising the attention of the international community and put international pressure on Hong Kong government to force them to push for democracy. And in fact, people could share some propaganda through social media and let people all around the world know about what Hong Kong is happening. And this can ensure enough support and attention to be provided to the social movement from the international community to Hong Kong. Therefore, to put pressure on the regime, we could only deepen the understanding of the international community towards the situation of Hong Kong. Only by doing this can force the regime to respond to the demands of Hong Kongers. And also, the international support could also prevent the regime from suppressing element of some political organization that promotes democracy. And nowadays, the regime is suppressing some political organizations, like disqualifying some candidates in the Legislative Council and District Council. And these political organizations are the cradles of the future political pillars, and also the foundation of the development of the wide base of population to support democracy. So it is difficult for future political leaders to be bred and to facilitate the development of democracy in the future. As a result, the international support could not only prevent the suppression of these organizations, and it can also provide support to them and aid their operation. And finally, it is evident that the methods used in the past are no longer applicable on the role of democracy in Hong Kong nowadays. And so that I think that the union should identify the student body with social issue in the interest of the people of Hong Kong and represent the student body internationally, so as to bring democracy for Hong Kongers. Therefore, I have supported the view that the union should adopt rallying support from the international community as the main approach to achieving democracy in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. From Representative of Science Society, HKUSU Council, Session 2019. I think that today's motion should more, statistically speaking, the international community do have different opinions on different events in Hong Kong. From the news report done by the Stand News on August, it shows that the international attention of Hong Kong's events fluctuates, where it stays the highest on 12th of June and 1st of July, but rather the level on 31st of July, it's relatively low. So we can see that it is not reliable for us to solely to ask for help from the international community. And I think that the HKUSU should rather focus on the local community for several reasons. Firstly, it is about the representation or representativeness of HKUSU. I think that from some of the students has mentioned, HKUSU do have a rather high representativeness in Hong Kong. So I think that HKUSU should grab this opportunity to lead Hong Kong people in the movement in the local community rather in the international community, because that we can observe several incidents occurred from the HKIAD. The representativeness issue has occurred and it gained such a large objection from different stakeholders. The second reason is that I think that HKUSU should not mainly or solely focus on international community is that I think that to represent Hong Kong people rather needs a very large democracy basis. But at this stage, while the movement is still standing still, without any huge improvements or different turning points, I think that the union should not do anything about should not focus on the international community at this stage, because that it will gain such a large impact after, because it will gain a lot of opposition. So therefore, I think that the motion of today should fall. Thank you.
主席，文學院學生會代表會嘅。咁我認為今次嘅辯題咧係唔成立嘅。咁喺呢個辯題裏邊，好重要嘅字眼咧就係民主。咁民主咧，我認為咧係香港呢幾代人咧一直所夢寐以求嘅追求嘅嘢嚟嘅。咁主權移交至今22年咧，我認為咧每一個香港人咧都有為爭取民主而努力，但係咧我哋終究咧係未能夠嘗到民主同埋自由嘅氣味。咁到底點解咧？所以我哋認為，我哋喺探討呢條辯題之前咧，我哋必須要釐清翻兩樣嘢。第一係香港民主同埋學生會個中嘅關係啦，其次就係論述翻國際社會對於香港民主嘅重要性。咁首先咧，我就想講翻學生會對於香港民主嘅嗰種關係啦。咁我哋睇翻會訓啦、團結一致獨立自主，同埋以至到憲章裏邊咧都有提及到學生會咧應該提高翻香港大學學生咧關於社會議題嘅一啲關注程度啦，乃至係團結一致嘅力量咧去改變社會嘅。而喺各種嘅社會運動上邊咧，我哋都可以見到咧，學生會咧係從來未喺爭取民主之路上面咧缺席過嘅。其次咧，對於學生會嘅本質而言，我認為咧學生會咧係一個聚會咗能言志士嘅組織啦。所謂能力越大，責任越大，我哋必須要揭示社會不公義，然後追求社會公義。所以我認為咧，學生會本身其本質咧已經有責任要去喚起公民意識，同埋去動員佢哋去貢獻自己嘅所學所聞。所以縱觀制度內外，我認為學生會均與香港民主有密切嘅關係，唇齒相依。咁如果我哋確立咗香港民主同埋學生會嘅關係之後咧，我就認為咧可以再去探究究竟國際社會對於支持香港民主嘅角色係啲乜嘢。咁對於我哋嚟講咧，香港咧喺國際地位係十分之特殊嘅。既然中國嘅唯一嘅出口啦，亦都喺司法同埋金融機制上面咧係享負盛名嘅。所以咧，我認為咧香港同埋國際嘅利益咧係密不可分。所以咧先至會令到有國際嘅社會咧會提供支持俾香港啦，甚至係對香港嘅民主進程咧有一定嘅關注。 咁今年咧，適逢反送中運動咧，都證明有港人咧係睇著先機開拓國際戰線，甚至係推動呢個美國議會咧係推動香港人權與民主法案2019。咁但係咧，我哋從來都唔可以去精準咁樣猜測到究竟點解呢條法案會通過咧？究竟係美國國會受到香港人爭取民主嘅心而感動啦，定係美國單純因為想磨滅中國呢個假想敵嘅形象而去作出呢個所為？咁倘若有一日香港失去咗呢個特殊嘅地位咧，我恐怕國際對於香港嘅支持咧，亦都隨之而逝。所以基於以上種種，我認為香港人係唔能夠依靠國際社會支持去爭取香港民主。與其盲目我哋去爭取所謂嘅國際社會支持，我認為我哋必須要團結一致，然後去對抗極權，團結本地嘅力量去爭取翻本地嘅民主。如果社會多數人咧都欠缺咗公民教育或者政治覺悟嘅話咧，民主只會係一派嘅空詞。即便達成咗以上嘅條件，我認為軍心不定、內部嚴重分裂，甚至互相猜忌，正正就係而家反送中運動我哋見到嘅問題。咁我就認為需要先安內後讓內，否則民主革命亦都係一派嘅空談。咁我喺呢度咧，唔係要否定國際社會對於香港民主嘅重要性，而係我哋必須要記住，團結本地力量先係拓展其他戰線嘅首要條件，而爭取香港民主嘅先決條件咧，亦都係建基於本地力量。咁所以我認為學生會應該以團結本地力量為爭取香港民主嘅主要方式。所以今次嘅辯題係唔成立。多謝。
Thank you, Chairperson, Yu Angus Checkling, representative of Law Association. So first of all, I do not agree that the Union shall adopt rallying global support as the main approach, though the Union should make part in extending the global battlefield to achieve democracy in Hong Kong. So I would consider the motion as a threefold question. First of all, whether such approach could benefit the democratic development in Hong Kong. And the second, whether it should be adopted as a main approach. And third, whether the Union is in the appropriate capacity to implement such measure. So in comparison with available alternatives such as civil disobedience and continuous protests, seeking support from the international community seems to be a tortuous method in response to the obstinate regime. Nevertheless, its influence will be exceptionally substantial and beneficial to a city like Hong Kong. With regard to her fundamental status of being the hinge of the global financial city, it should be noticed that the connectivity of this city is unexpectedly high under the great influence of globalization. In other words, the economy of Hong Kong is always interconnected with the globe, which subsequently poses a necessity on foreign countries to concern the stability of Hong Kong. Although such approach may not have any significant instant effects on promoting democracy in Hong Kong, continuous condemnation surely prove the great anxiety posed to China as well as the SAR government. Unquestionably, the economic sanctions implemented by foreign regimes definitely impose a novel pressure on the new political battlefield in Hong Kong. Blinded pro-establishment advocates would need to be accountable to the people in order to enjoy their harvest period. As a result, it is not in dispute that rallying global assistance could help us regain the accountability of government officials or the ones who hold the people's mandate. However, even though its benefits are well established, the necessity of adopting it as a main approach should be critically discussed by this Council. Currently, I would feel the absence of valid bureaucratic accountability as a gist of the problem that lead to the endless social movements and unrest. Although the duty to hold governments of officials accountable is upheld by the Legislative Council, the composition of the legislative branch is questionable in representing interests of people with the presence of functional constituencies. Such composition has been argued to be so undemocratic that it has sacrificed the representations in society. The failure to implement political reforms specifically on the universal suffrage of the CE and the Legislative Council have entirely disappointed the people in Hong Kong and also put the credibility of the government at stake. This poses a real danger to the public confidence in the current political system, thus the basic law which safeguards the separation of powers. The system failures in representing different sectors of people offers a complete paralysis on the government's legitimacy and credibility, which now allows the executive branch to manipulate the legal system as one of its most notorious political tools. Therefore, the government seldom compromises with the people's will unless precedented dangers are posed to the current living of local citizens. In view of the deadlock that the social movement is currently facing, it is a must for the people to seek other methods to pressurize the regime, apart from starting numerous protests in Hong Kong. From the above, I am of the view that the global battlefield should be placed with greater importance to answer my first question. And to my second concern, simply adopting the extension in global battlefield as the main approach would not be successful unless a concrete democratic basis is sought for. In the pursuit of democracy, the people's will and support will be fundamental, and so the newly established approach of rallying support globally. The recommendations suggested by the delegates in foreign parliaments would never be valid if they are only supported by the minority in Hong Kong. Besides, it must be emphasized that the approach is symbiotic with the movement itself. A larger support for the social movement will subsequently enhance the importance that foreign countries will attach. However, the current homogeneity of expressing demands only through local protests restrain a larger public participation in the movement against the regime, and so fails to provide a larger democratic mandate for rallying global support. As a result, the Union should first prioritize promoting other methods to enable a larger number of citizens to take part in the movement, such as extending the yellow economy in order to provide a substantial democratic basis for the adoption of rallying global support in the international battlefield. Besides, to my final concern, the capacity of the Union should be considered. The crux of the current social movement is its decentralized structure that enables every part of society to take part in expressing the people's demands, and the Union should spare no effort in supporting the people's voice, which is suppressed by police brutality and the system failure, as mentioned above. However, it should be emphasized that the delegates from the Union should shoulder the people's mandate to ensure the opinions on certain affairs bear representations from members. A higher degree of transparency should also be maintained to facilitate the accountability of delegates to members of the Union as they face international audience. However, as the motion only focuses on the necessity of seeking international assistance but not one relating to practical concerns, I am of the view that the Union should take part in extending the global battlefield to strive for democracy in Hong Kong. To conclude, I believe the first job that the Union should do is not immediately adopt the approach of rallying support from the globe to pursue democracy in Hong Kong, but the Union should sustain and develop the participation of the general public in the current social movement to empower the extension in the battlefield. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson Ho Chi-Chun Agent, the representative of Architectural Society. So before I start, I would like to thank the popular elected Union Councillor Bentley and the Council Business Committee for holding today's event, and thanking the councillors who actually showed up to set up the annual debate today. So, after listening to a few speeches just now, I think that there's a misconception to the motion. People are thinking that the motion today is about whether the Union should reach out for international support, but they neglected the word the main approach. We're not highlighting one thing, but we're not highlighting that we should rally international support, but more on the issue that whether it is the main approach that we should go for. I'm hearing more than one speeches that highlight that why do we need international law, so on and so forth. And they're saying that rallying support could not be easily participated by Hong Kong people. But interestingly, we are investigating in different ways of diplomacy and rallying international support, including Twitter, including Facebook, including a lot of ways. And supposedly, Mr. Brian Leung, the former editor-in-chief of the undergrad, who has entered the Legislative Council and has rallied international support in USA, is just a nobody before the movement. So are you saying that the rallying international support cannot be easily participated by members or by just the public in Hong Kong? I doubt this argument. So, after all, today's motion must fall. As little may all of you know, the motion of the recently hosted final of the World Universities Debating Competition is that this House, as China, will grant universal suffrage to Hong Kong citizens. The live stream of the debate was first removed from the internet, and Chinese debaters were forced to evacuate from the venue. Censorship from China has moved on into a wider extent into a worldwide level. We, as Hong Kongers, must rally support from the international community through means such as non-governmental diplomacy or social media to attain worldwide attention on the progress of universal suffrage in Hong Kong. However, as a union councillor myself, it is my strong belief that to vote as opposition in today's motion, as the union shall not be fully fledged in rallying support from the international community in achieving democracy in Hong Kong, as the union fails to serve its aim. To me, this motion shall only focus on the direct approach in attaining international support for the democracy of Hong Kong. Any slight action from the union could directly attract international attention. We shall focus today's debate on methods such as social media and non-governmental diplomacy, and the ultimate goal of resorting to such methods shall not end after abolishing functional constituency in Legislative Council or simply achieving 5 demands in Hong Kong. As achieving democracy is an ongoing process until Hong Kong have the authority to decide on their government by methods on universal suffrage. Revolution of our times is not just a slogan, but it is an ongoing process and shall not end after 5 demands is met. When the topic of Hong Kong democracy was brought into the international level, the voices of Hong Kong protesters must be heard, as our demands and goals must be well explained in reaching for support from the international community. However, is it the union's scope to step up to such level of diplomacy? Maybe the answer is no. The union shall never deem ourselves as the representative of Hong Kong or the representative of any social movements. In the past, in the umbrella movement, we have been recognized as the leader of umbrella movement. What turns out in the end? HKUSU leaving the HKFS, HKUSU being blamed as the culprit of the fall of the movement in umbrella movement. However, on the contrary, the Hong Kong Higher Institutions International Affairs Delegation, in short HKIAD, which the union was part of, has sparked much controversy due to the remarks made by the so-called student representatives. And many international circuits has actually recognized those as the opinion of the general public of Hong Kong. Let's ask ourselves right here, right now. Is HKUSU the leader of the movement? Is HKUSU representing Hong Kong in the international field? I can list up many examples. One of the most famous example is the statement made by Zhou Yixu with a German press earlier in 2019. The former spokesperson of IID has justified how easily the remarks can be twisted and turned by international media and recognized as the voices and as the representatives of Hong Kong. Even though she proclaims she is not the movement, but throughout her words, she keeps on saying that the student union or HKID plays an important part as leading the movement in anti-LAT movement. If rallying support requires authority equates to HKFS, IAD, I think union shall not fall short of that expectation. Union is simply on the same level as such body, and it's always been recognized as the leader of the movement, and in terms of recognized as the leader of Hong Kong, HKUSU has always been first on the list. No matter how hard we try not to admit we are the leaders of the movement, the union rallying international support for Hong Kong equates to representing Hong Kong in the international field, equates to representing ourselves and calling ourselves the leader of the movement. If the union desire to rally support and devote the majority of our efforts on the international level, it is nothing but a self-assertion of power of deeming ourselves the leader of the movement and Hong Kong as a whole. The union is not a political party. It is not a political organization that shall be used by politicians to attain his own benefits. Even though students' unions have been the frontier of social movement, and the importance of student union in the mobilization of students in support of social movements. Students, as the youth of the society, are fearless and reckless in devoting their efforts and time into supporting the protesters, serve as the sacrifice for the movement, stand side by side with Hong Kong citizens. Instead of devoting ourselves into a game called the sheer political manipulation game named diplomacy for the sake of clout, we're just falling into the trap set up by Hong Kong government of recognizing the union as the leader of the movement and putting the union in jeopardy of using the name inflicting riot. It has diminished the flexibility and the opportunities for the union to support those in need and restrict the opportunity for us to closely monitor as we are closely monitored by the government. As Hillary Clinton has once said, part of diplomacy is to open different definitions of self-interest. Diplomacy is just a trade of political benefits. The union is never a tool of reaping political benefit, and is not a stepping stone used by people who wanted to become politicians, but the organization where thousands of students count on and supported in defense of their own rights we earnestly own. Up to millions of Hong Kong citizens have pledged their sweat, tears, and blood into the movement, and the union shall be the honest supporter for these actions of Hong Kong citizens for fighting for democracy in Hong Kong. However, putting efforts into diplomacy game contradicts to finding support in Hong Kongers into supporting the social movement and just gives chances for opportunists to use union as a tool and do anything but manifest what the union should do. The union as a student body shall fully fledge into defending our own rights and safeguard the values we uphold. We shall not in any way trade Hong Kongers for our benefit or using the name of union to trade the benefits in the name of Hong Kong. The gold sleeves of the green gown we're wearing right now signify the message of to serve and to sacrifice. And being part of the international button shall never be part of what the union considered in order to achieve democracy in Hong Kong. Let me end my speech today by alluding to George Orwell's book 1984. We're living in Oceania. However, the ink salt was never the Communist Party of China. And somehow I'm feeling like I'm being watched by thought police right here, right now. To prevent myself ending up like Winston in the future, I think I should end my speech here. As freedom of speech is still a thing, Big Brother, 2 + 2 will never be 5, and today's motion must fall. Thank you.
主席大會，香港大學學生會2019年度中央幹事會處理會長陳希朗。咁就住呢一個議題咧，我自己覺得即係今次評議會提出呢個議題咧，係根據現時嘅社會現況之下提出嘅，所以我覺得即係獲取國際社會支持作為爭取香港民主，我覺得呢一個係大家都覺得獲取到，如果國際社會多啲嘅關注同支持，的而且確對於香港嘅民主進程係有一定嘅幫助啦。所以我覺得當中呢個議題上面咧，主要方式就係一個重要啲嘅爭辯空間。咁雖然現時咧港大嘅學生會就唔係 IAD 嘅成員院校之一啦，咁但係打國際戰線或者爭取國際社會關注呢個議題上面咧，其實喺美國通過咗香港人權同埋民主法案之後，其實大家都可以睇到國際戰線嘅進度咧停滯不前。咁國際關注香港社會嘅狀況嘅熱度咧，亦都開始隨住嘅現時嘅社會現況而熱度退減啦。咁所以我自己個人認為咧，其實港大學生會係應該喺而家呢一個現況底下，係再次透過文宣同埋一啲國際遊說工作，去再爭取翻一啲國際關注同埋支持，迫使其他嘅國家咧係制裁一啲侵害香港自由同埋人權嘅國家或者人員嘅。咁 有評議員咧就提到咧爭取本地嘅一啲人士嘅支持啦，或者推動本地民主進程咧，就應該係我哋嘅主要責任啦。咁我絕對同意嘅。所以其實喚醒一啲同學對於本地嘅時政關注同埋參與嘅工作咧，係絕對應該繼續要去做。咁但係目前港大學生會會做到好多有能之士啦。喺目前香港本地其實都已經有各方嘅團體去就住本地嘅民主推動工作做好多唔同相關嘅一啲事項，譬如係推動黃色經濟圈等等咧。其實我覺得港大學生會係可以去做一啲即係可以，正如當初 IAD 開始做國際戰線工作一樣咧，其實港大學生會係應該要將資源咧主動去調動，去到可以繼續喚起到國際社會關注。咁美國其實佢本身可以有唔同嘅因素去通過相關嘅法案啦，但係社會形勢突變同埋香港主動咧去將本地嘅狀況推展到國際，其實無可否認咧，亦都係對美國施加咗一種壓力，去將香港問題帶到佢哋嘅政治議程上邊。咁有評議員提到關於大台化嘅問題，咁我自己個人覺得，評議會通過咗呢個議案之後咧，其實都唔代表港大學生會係會單獨肩負爭取國際支持呢個責任嘅，反而係大家喺呢個評議會度獲取咗個 common ground 之後咧，其實係開拓咗更加多嘅啲空間去俾大家商討點樣可以將資源調度到去做相關爭取國際社會支持嘅工作。咁所以我認為根據呢一個議題咧，其實我本人咧係支持呢個議題應該要通過。
Hello. Thank you, Chairperson. Lam Lin Chen, representative of Richie Students Association, session 2019 to 2020. Fighting for democracy was never an easy process. It is a long process that requires immense sacrifice. While it is seemingly important that rallying international support could help achieving democracy in Hong Kong, but first, we need to question ourselves. What have other countries done for us, and have they brought any changes to the political injustice in Hong Kong? Throughout the past few months, I believe it is clear that international support has made very little impact on achieving democracy in Hong Kong. As an active and prominent student-leading organization, promoting social and political awareness of Hong Kong people shall be the main approach and the priority of the Union, as it is the most effective and practical means to achieve democracy in Hong Kong. To achieve true democracy, we need not the support of foreigners, but our people, the Hong Kong people. Our target audience should be the ones who share the same values, the same traditions, and the same history, as well as the same language. It is also important for us to change the perception of the disagreeing parties and find a common ground that will eventually lead to the pursuit of true democracy, a universal value that all people cherish. Contributing to the local community not only would gain the support of the majority of society, but also serves as a powerhouse in changing the current political system. When more and more people acknowledge our work and contribution for the betterment of Hong Kong, democracy will soon prevail. At last, I would like to end my short speech with a quote from former United States President Abraham Lincoln. Democracy is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. Hence, the motion shall be defeated. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Lee Pui Chung, representative of Star Hall Students Association. So, first of all, let's thank representative of Architectural Society for bringing flames to this annual debate. And also, I want to echo representative of Law Association of this threefold approach to this motion. And I think that is a more of a skeleton that we should follow in our following speeches. So, first of all, let's take a look in this in the construct of this motion about should we adopt this international community as a main approach. So I think this should be the main point we should tackle in this debate, and I think we all agree that rallying support from international community is a thing that we should pursue in more of a short-term or even long-term. So I think this motion can be taken in like more of a two approach. So I think we can consider the timeline of this movement. So of course, in the short term, we would want to expand our coverage or influence in the international community as the local community or the local movement is being probably a bit stagnant, as some other councillors have also mentioned. So I think, but in the long term and in the nature of our students' union, this shouldn't be taken as the main approach. So also in the union constitution, the aims of our students' union is to represent the student body in both locally and internationally. So I want to point out that the student union already has taken the international affairs into its consideration, and we did have an international affairs secretary that will be discussed in council or executive committee restructuring later. The point is that the union has already taken international community or international movement into the consideration, and I think that the nature of this union should be more of being a local, supporting the local movement due to the resource restriction. So let's highlight my response on Hong Kong's union. So first of all, the Hong Kong University Students' Union should excel first in local affairs and promote current affairs and influence majorly in international affairs. So hypothetically, if we have infinite resource and we have infinite manpower, it will be very likely for us, and I would support us to do international community movements or efforts in international affairs without doubt. So, however, in the status quo is that our students' union should primarily serve our members as a primarily approach and our utmost aim. So, I want to highlight that the students' union should first serve our dearest member and perhaps take an approach in international affairs as locally based and internationally oriented. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, representative of Swai Hall Students Association, HKUSU. I do not agree that the union should take international support as the main approach for democracy. Last year, Hong Kong has slipped from 73rd out of 167 places in the ERU Democracy Index. And it is undeniable that the cooperation between the international community is the trend in the future. However, when it comes to the main approach, we do need to question what the ultimate goal of pursuing democracy of a union is. In my opinion, democracy is about a rule in which people can have equal political rights to participate in a representative government. And the union, as the largest official student body, bears the responsibility of raising students' awareness on current affairs and leading discussion on democracy. And the members of the union should always be the ones we are targeted for. Before we go internationally, we do have to consult if everyone in our union can truly understand and participate in these approaches, or we are just leaving these people behind. And as the motto of our union says, unity with independence. By only encouraging every student to be responsible for their ideal values can let us bring greater influence to our society. An international community, if I may say so, is being our last resort to achieve democracy in Hong Kong. Instead, the union should first galvanize public discussion in a political sphere before extending the movement to the international sphere. Therefore, today's motion should definitely fall. Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. Chan Hunan, representative of Lishi Hong Kong Students Association, HKUSU. I disagree with the motion that the Union shall adopt rallying support from the international community as the main approach in achieving democracy in Hong Kong. The Union serves as student representatives of HKU, elected by all full members of HKU, and can arguably reflect the majority of our wishes for democracy in Hong Kong. With features such as having connections with student unions from other countries and the possibility of traveling to other countries to share and hold conferences, it may seem beneficial for the Union to adopt rallying support from the international community as the main approach in achieving democracy in Hong Kong. However, with limitations in rallying international support, its relatively low effectiveness in promoting the movement, and the availability of other alternatives, it is doubtful that the Union should focus its efforts on rallying support from the international community to strive for democracy in Hong Kong. There are different limitations in rallying international support, be it financially speaking, or the availability of suitable candidates to represent the Union as a whole. With international tours to gain support and spread awareness of Hong Kong's struggle for democracy to other countries, financial support and aid has to be provided to this attempt. With the limited financial backup from the university, it is difficult for the Union to gain capital for trips elsewhere to persuade and share. Furthermore, there is a lower effectiveness of pursuing democracy if this is adopted as the main approach, as opposed to focusing efforts locally. If the Union seeks to rally support from the international community, its main goal is to spread awareness globally. Although this is an important method to gain worldwide attention, there is no actual protest or strong stance, and there will be no pressure on the government to implement policies that advocates full democracy. Rallying international support will then in turn become merely an academic exchange of ideas, crucial in raising awareness of the movement, but lacking in the final outcome, without an audible outcry from the Hong Kong students community. On the other hand, focusing efforts to gather support locally is a more favorable alternative. The Union can act as a spokesperson representing HKU students and can pursue to strengthen support within the local community through polling, holding talks and conferences. With its limited financial resources available, it will be more impactful for the Union to continue to consolidate local teenagers' support and awareness to this movement, uniting the younger generation which shares similar hopes and aspirations for the future. Internally, the Union can maintain interest in this topic by promoting its editorial board, chairing sessions, and regulating learning laws to show determination and remind HKU students of the endeavor to achieve full democracy. This can then encourage students to get involved and play their part, for instance, recording the current situation through videos, or writing their own pieces to congregate interest. Therefore, it is through focusing on local efforts as a main effort that the Union can fulfill its role as a representative of HKU and its duty to venture for democracy in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Fu Ting-hin, representative of RC Lee Hall Students Association, HKUSU, session 2019 to 2020. So after all the insightful speech from my fellow councillors, I should try to keep my speech short. And I am against the motion today. And so before I begin, I must first point out that the HKUSU has always been on the front line of social movement since the 80s, including the June 4th incident. And HKUSU, being the face of HKU students and the generation of young people, is undoubtedly suitable to be the representative to fight for the future of Hong Kong. And considering the current society, there do not seem to be many other suitable parties for non-governmental diplomacy. Taking traditional political parties as an example, they seem to have a lot of burden and they do not have much time to rally for support, and hence, like, student representatives seem to be the best choice of the people to speak to foreign officials regarding the situation of Hong Kong and to lobby for support. The HKUSU is also elected by all of the Hong Kong U students and enjoy the largest legitimacy to represent students on the international level as well. However, I still believe that the international community should not be the main approach where the HKUSU employs to fight for democracy in Hong Kong. Let me reinstate that rallying support from the international community is indeed a very useful method. With the lack of limitation of power on the shameless government, we definitely need the international community to help place pressure on the government, or else the government is unlikely to respond to any of our requests. However, no countries have the obligation to stand with Hong Kong until the end. and it all depends on the interests of different countries. So international community is relatively a less reliable force than to build local forces in achieving democracy in Hong Kong. Let us look back to the fact that the HKUSU is elected by all HKU students. That is, all HKU students enjoy the right to vote. And hence, we should be the representatives of students, and we should be student-centered in our approach. We should focus on building the political awareness of HKU students. After all, the student union is the leaders of the students, and we should be student-centered in our fight for freedom, and we should not be mainly serving political functions. As well as this, we should, regardless of the local and non-local population, the situation of political apathy, or rather of political ignorance, is rather serious. And with HKUSU being the largest student body in HKU, we should instead focus on raising the awareness, both the civic awareness and political awareness among our students, and we should educate them on how they should make sense of the world, especially in the era of fake news. Last but not least, I would like to briefly point out that diplomacy is no simple topic. As some of my fellow councillors has mentioned that the HKUSU in the past has caused some controversy when dealing with diplomacy, and I'd like to point out that the HKUSU may not have the capacity to handle non-governmental diplomacy properly, such as the recent HKIAD controversy due to the inappropriate words and deeds by the representatives. And with no proper regulations in sight, it is not reliable that the HKUSU adopt rallying for international community, rallying support from the international community as the main approach to achieving democracy in Hong Kong. I should stress once again that international community is definitely one of the greatest forces we should enlist the support from in the long run. But as of now, and considering the aims and functions of the HKUSU, we should focus on building the political and civic awareness among our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. So I'm Channel Ming, representative of University Hall Students Association, HKUSU. So before I reveal my stance as to today's motion, allow me to draw a bigger picture into today's debate. So now the world has entered into a new era, as evidenced by the current Sino-US trade war. And I think the situation is largely similar to the second half of the 20th century, the period when the Cold War between the capitalist and the communist blocs took place, in which the former US-led bloc adopted the policy of containment. And as we can see, right now the US is adopting the same approach to contain China's rise. So you may ask why we need to contain China's rise. So a disclaimer here, I'm not saying that China should be suppressed at all costs, because China's rise could be beneficial to the world in terms of economy and the environment. However, China's rise, in my opinion, is at the expense of the current system, of the current global system, i.e. democracy and freedom. And many are fearing that China will export its own system to the rest of the world, and ultimately affecting the whole current system. So right now, Hong Kong is at the front line of the new Cold War. And there are basically three choices left for us to seek for democracy. So the first option is to give in to Beijing. And the second option is to maintain local movements and momentum. And the final option is to seek for further international support. And allow me to briefly assess the costs and benefits of these options. So for the first option, of course it will attract less retaliation from Beijing. But as we all know, this is basically a boiling frog, 温水煮蛙 option. And the second option is to focus on local movement. But that's basically it, as we've done for the past 7 months or so, or even for the past 3 decades or so. And the final option is to increase international support, but this will of course attract incessant repression from Beijing. And now, for my stance, I'm not saying that seeking support from the local community isn't essential, but that, in my opinion, is hardly achievable given the invisible hand posed on Hong Kong by the Communist Party, and which has been penetrating different aspects of our society. And given that not much has changed within the current system, I think it's time to be innovative and seek breakthrough. That's why when Hong Kong's international level has elevated to an unprecedentedly high level, we should seize this opportunity to push for further democratization. And that's why, in my opinion, today's motion must stand. And allow me to further articulate my stance. And in recent years, we have seen around the world, we've seen waves of student movements, spanning in issues from global warming, as shown by the Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg, to combating system-wide corruption by the Iranian students against their own government. We can see the potential of students' power in achieving goals, and that should never be underestimated. As a leading student organization in Hong Kong, with its prestigious position, we should definitely leverage on this potential to strive for international support and, most importantly, international understanding on our situation against the Beijing government. Incidents in recent months have been evidence in showing that our power can really make some changes and can come in handy, such as rallying support from the US Congress as to passing the Hong Kong Democracy Act. Now, I think the major controversy in today's motion is the term main approach. And I think many of you we have gained lots of success in maintaining local momentum as to the recent protests. But in my position, we should see how to further the whole movement to a new arena. And we can, of course, we can never be assertive as to whether it is effective or beneficial to seek for further international support or even treat it as the main approach by the HKUSU. However, I think nevertheless we should always give it a try through maybe lobbying to the international community. Hong Kong and the international community are in a relationship of interdependence, and once Hong Kong falls, it will undoubtedly mark the downfall of the current international system that we all cherish, i.e. democracy and freedom. Once again, Hong Kong is now at the front line of the Cold War, and we should create a picture to the international community as to the importance of saving Hong Kong and the benefits that the international community eventually can enjoy against the battle of Beijing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Gambroda Mark David, representative of Lee Shao Kee Hall Students Association, HKUSU. Much has happened in the last couple of months to attempt to achieve democracy in Hong Kong. Many people have taken to the streets, albeit with different intentions in mind, but all fighting for the same thing, which is democracy in Hong Kong. Although they have good intentions, and their contribution to the fight for democracy is immeasurable, I personally think that they cannot achieve democracy with solely this method, without extremely severely crippling the operations of Hong Kong. It is simply too easy for those in charge to completely disregard the opinions of the people, especially when the supporters of those in charge control a majority in the legislative body. Since the pressure on the government from within Hong Kong is clearly not enough to convince them that democracy is the best way forward, I believe that the best approach to achieving democracy is by applying pressure from external forces through the support of the international community. Furthermore, the union can play a special role to help represent all HKU students as a whole. Due to the union having connections with other universities abroad, it can help accelerate the spreading of awareness on the issue. I believe that once the issue is a common household topic all around the world, there will be too much pressure on the government for them to continue refusing to implement more democratic policies. Since I believe that rallying support from the international community is the best approach to achieving democracy in Hong Kong, therefore I think this motion should stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Ho Julian, representative of Lady Hong Kong Students Association, HKUSU. I disagree with the motion. I think that rallying support is vital, but should not be the main approach as a student union. It might be useful to put pressure on the Chinese government and the SAR government through gaining support from the international stage. Thereby, the government will have to respond to the people's demand. However, I think that rallying support is a rather passive way of achieving democracy. It takes a long time for a union to promote to the international community about the situation of Hong Kong with more information like photos or data. Other than that, the effects of rallying support is unpredictable. There is a doubt whether gaining the support is effective because what can be done by the supporting countries might be limited as they are unable to directly interfere in the decision of the SAR government. However, it is hard for the union to decide which country should be our target of promoting and collecting support from. Would a country which is relatively less democratic be our choice, or would a more democratic country be able to give us more support? Lastly, it is also hard to find a representative who have the legitimacy to represent the public. The union has a great connection with the students in Hong Kong. The union should focus on educating the students and raising their civic awareness instead. It is said that what is really needed to make democracy function is instead of knowledge of the facts, but is the right education. Students promoting the social movement on international stage are contagious, but it is more important for students themselves to influence one another. In the long fight of democracy, the union should concentrate on inspiring and uniting students instead of rallying support from the international community. Thank you.
Mr. Chan.
Thanks, Chairperson. Chairman Jimmy Emily Kidd, President of Independent Clubs Association HKUSU session 2019 and 20. So I'm one of the few that who is standing against this motion. So standing with Tracy and Brian and a few of you, I think that this motion is tricky in the part that is saying that rallying from the international community support is the main approach for us to attain democracy. However, this is not saying it is one of the ways to achieve this aim. And I think this is a question of, or a problem of priority. So first, I think before we reach out the international community, we should first go to our Hong Kong government and then the mainland China. So, as evidence in my introduction in my written response, we can see that universal suffrage, or the way to choose our Hong Kong government, is clearly one of the yardstick, if not an epitome of how the Hong Kong democracy is in Hong Kong. So I think why shouldn't we just go straight to the question of achieving democracy in Hong Kong? That is the Hong Kong government, which is our vehicle of democracy. So as evidence in from 2005 to 2014, you can see the Hong Kong government has tried its best to attain democracy in Hong Kong by restructuring its election systems. However, it comes to a stop at the umbrella movement in 2015. So I think that taking the backdrop of the recent social unrest in Hong Kong, I think we should first approach to the Hong Kong government to seek out the problem before we go to the international community. And then next, I think the next target we should go to is the mainland China. So as we can see, as stated in the basic law, Hong Kong is clearly one of the part of China, and however, we are not here to argue whether Hong Kong is a part of China, but we can see that China is clearly with a great power in influencing our democracy or way to select our chief executive or the electrical in Hong Kong. So, as evidence again in 2007, we can see that the MPCSC has added additional criteria for the universal suffrage in Hong Kong, namely the chief executive shall be one who loves the country and loves Hong Kong. And also, there's a 1,200 member nominating committee to be responsible for this election. So again, I think we should first go to the crux of the problem is that we should first approach China to see whether we can solve this problem before going to the international community. Lastly, I think although I'm not supporting that international community support should be our main approach to achieve Hong Kong democracy, however, I think this is still conducive to achieving this goal. So, however, I have to say that support is not intervention. So, as clearly stated in the Basic Law, democratization in Hong Kong has to be achieved gradually and in an orderly progress. Therefore, unless there is clearly an infringement upon Hong Kong democracy, no one should take a part in influencing Hong Kong's democracy development. So to conclude, I think democracy is clearly a highly cherished value in Hong Kong. So yet, democracy cannot come to be done in a click of a fingers. So unless both the mainland China or the Hong Kong government are going against or backward on achieving Hong Kong's democracy, no one is allowed to blemish our treasured gem. So therefore, to conclude, I'm against this motion. Thank you.
多謝主席，學社聯會代表一鄭啟康。咁咧，聽過頭先咁多位評議員嘅講法啦，咁其實我conclude嗰樣嘢就係、大家都覺得民主係香港必須，而且爭取國際社會支持咧，或者國際戰線啦，係一個非常重要嘅一種方式嚟嘅。咁而我覺得喺香港大學學生會嘅呢一個今年或者呢一個時期當中，我哋應該更加去utilize 我哋自己本身嘅優勢，更加係將我哋獨特性去顯露出嚟嘅。而我哋作為一個香港大學嘅學生，就係、喺香港最高學府入邊讀書，我哋喺學術上或者喺呢個國際地位上，比香港其他政黨或者其他嘅大學有更加高嘅地位，有更加高嘅優勢。我認為呢個正正就係令到我哋喺國際戰上比其他大學乃至其他政黨有着無可取替嘅一個獨特性。呢個獨特性正嘅係我覺得我哋應該要去 leverage， 以至於可以爭取香港民主。咁喺成效性而言，我覺得本地嘅團結或者係本地去提升大家嘅 awareness 呢方面，好多嘅團體都有做緊，但係香港大學學生會可以做嘅正正就係將自己獨特性優勢，正如頭先所講，作為一個有地位嘅機構咧，喺國際上去爭取唔同嘅 awareness。譬如話喺學術上，我哋可以出一啲唔同嘅報告，譬如喺嚟緊嘅反送中運動刊物入邊咧，即將出版嘅反送中刊物入邊，應該都會有唔同嘅角度，包括喺學術上啦，或者以學生嘅角度去睇呢件事，以至於我哋可以將我哋獨有嘅優勢去展露出嚟，更加有效咁去爭取香港民主。所以我認同香港大學生會應該係透過獲取國際社會支持咧，作為爭取香港民主嘅主要方法。對主席。
多謝主席大會。2019年度香港大學學生會評議會或者學社聯會代表議員繼續。我啱啱聽咗咁耐各位 councillor 嘅發言啦，咁其實我係贊成呢個議案嘅。咁其實我好記得SMT 所講嘅啦。我哋出面嘅香港市民都有好多唔同嘅戰線啊，例如去組織呢啲嘅黃色經濟圈啊，或者其他，但係聽到嘅種種嘅行為咧，都只不過限於本地啦。其實我覺得兄弟爬山各自努力呢個口號咧，我係非常贊同啦。但係咧，因為鑑於咧本地嘅人咧就好難去到出去外面咧，就表達自己嘅表達向國會表達依家香港嘅局勢啦。咁但係香港大學學生咧就可以透過呢一次嘅機會咧，就向向外國嘅國會或者議會咧去表達出，即係表達出依家香港嘅情況啦。咁樣係俾國會議員咧就去了解更清楚，去通過去制裁香港官員或者係制裁政府嘅一啲嘅方法，例如係
訂立呢個嘅香港人權民主法案咁樣，或者係其他全球馬格尼茨基人權問責法之類嘅啦咁樣。咁因為我啱啱聽到有 councillor 都有表達過，就係話假如我哋香港大學生會派人上去，會唔會淪為呢個嘅政治嘅工具咧？咁其實我個人認為係反對呢個嘅睇法，因為其實大學生呢個嘅身份比較特殊啦，就係因為大學生佢有足夠嘅知識啦，同埋有佢嘅獨特性，就係佢有批判性思考。咁其實我哋亦冇政黨嘅喺背後支持啦，咁即係佢冇一個政黨理念支持佢，佢只不過去實事求是係講翻個事實出嚟啫。咁所以我亦唔覺得呢樣嘢係一個政治會淪為一個政治工具咁樣嘅。咁另外咧，最後我都睇到一個啱啱聽到有councillor 都表達過，咁假如我哋去出外國爭取社會支持啦，咁會唔會要好多使費啊？咁會唔會係搞到學生會係冇一個資源去 focus 翻喺本地香港大學呢度咧？咁其實我覺得呢個都唔係好成立，因為依家體驗到我哋香港大學生會對於 provide 到學生嘅時候有咩資源缺乏嘅情況。咁當然啦，我認同應該社會綜援咁樣，即係為咗呢個爭取國際社會支持，然後就放棄香港大學嘅本地嘅對學生嘅支援咁樣。咁但係我認為依家鑑於喺未係有 sufficient resources 嘅情況底下，應該向呢個外國去爭取呢個國際民主嘅。
Time is 2:17. Motion number 2. Motion on table. 香港大學學生會應透過獲取國際社會支持作為爭取香港民主的主要方式。Union shall adopt rallying support from the international community as the main approach in achieving democracy in Hong Kong. Proposer, Stamp Seconder, Ms. Low. May speech proposer, seconder. Are there any consultation, discussion? Amendments or objections?
Thank you, Chairperson.
I believe we've heard a number of objections from the councillors here, and I wish that the motion will be put to a vote by roll call.
Vote by roll call. Any objections? Will all voting councillors raise your hands? Total votes 28. Those for the motion, please raise your hand. All.
Say SSSR, 5 MSR, 6 ESR, 7 R, 8 RIC, 9 RIC1.
Those against the motion?
1 MHR,
2 SKY MHR, 3 SWHR, 4 SKCR,
5 STHR, 8 RCHR, 9 RHR, 13 ASR, 14 SSR, 15 LAR,
16 AAR,
17 ICP, 18 PCR.
Those abstaining?
1 CCVC.
Total votes 28 for, 9 against, 18, abstain 1. The motion is defeated. Memorandum 1 from PC 1. Motion of the annual debate was defeated with regards to whether rallying support from the international committee shall be the main approach of the Union in achieving democracy in Hong Kong. The Council had not defeated the importance of rallying support from the international community.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Despite the fact that we have just defeated the motion of the annual debate, we have been discussing on whether the rallying support from the international community shall be a main approach. We have not touched upon, we have not discussed, debated, or nor defeated whether rallying support from the international community should be an approach adopted by the Union. Therefore, I would like to submit this memorandum to remark that we are not defeating whether the Union shall be seeking international support in the future.
Any other speeches or comments on resolutions? Any other comments on resolutions? Any other comments? Agenda B2, any other business?
Thank you,主席。我哋呢個發言咧係想就住週年辯論有評議員係唔去提交任何嘅回應，係即係表示一個失望嘅。因為我認為其實評議員喺一個週年辯論唔交任何回應咧，其實係即係不可被接受啦。尤其是今日辯題內容係同在座你同我同埋所有會員係息息相關啦。其實作為一個評議員，我哋即係我哋選入被委任或者被投票進入評議會，我哋係嚟投票我哋係嚟討論去議政，而唔係嚟表示冇意見咯。而其實對於辯題、對於議案唔提交任何嘅 written response， 其實就我而言，其實係同對於議案冇意見係冇分別。而我認為呢個唔係一個評議員應該有嘅擔當。更甚而嘅係，其實每一個評議員喺評議會都係一個 representative 或者一個 student body 或者一個 association。而如果一個 representative 可以喺評議會度就一個議案係冇任何意見，其實亦都可以被理解為你代表緊你個屬會對於今日嘅辯題、對於今日嘅議案係表示你哋冇任何意見，亦都認為你哋對於香港大學學生會應唔應該獲取國際社會嘅支持，去爭取香港民主，係完全係唔作任何表態。而我唔認為一個評議員應該係喺一個評議會度可以就住呢件事唔作表態，亦更加唔應該係代表你個屬會或者你嘅聯會去就住呢個議案唔作任何表態。因此其實去到呢個位，其實我純粹係想再表達一次，其實我認為評議員即係評議員呢個職位並唔係代表你純粹係嚟計 attendance， 而係你需要參與緊學生會議政嘅工作。如果唔係，你根本我認為呢個唔係一個評議員應該有嘅擔當，同埋唔係應該一個評議員應該有嘅職責。我認為我認為一個評議員係對於今日嘅議案係唔交任何書面回應，或者係書面回應係冇回應嘅話，我都認為呢件事係作為一個評議員，我作為一個香港大學學生會嘅會員係覺得非常之失望。多謝主席。
Any other business? Any other business? Any other business? Any other business? Time is 2:24. Declare this meeting closed.